This is a historical exhibition about the relationship between art and technology, the way that artists chose to experiment with and collaborate with machines and scientific ways of thinking. In many ways, science in general is a way to peel back the onion of reality. There's an intuitive way of looking at the world, and the more you look into how it actually functions at a microscopic or macroscopic level, the further away it gets from how it understands it to be. And so for many of these artists, making art that was based in ways of dissecting vision was also a way of revealing aspects of reality that were not necessarily directly intuitive. The relationship between artists and technology is a complicated subject, and many of the artists in this exhibition have approached it from very different perspectives and points of view. So there are some that were all too happy to collaborate with, say, corporate laboratories, if that gave them access to the kind of instruments that they wanted to experiment with. Whereas others were very wary of being instrumentalized by the commercial or military interests that were behind innovation. And so many of these artists were quite overtly trying to subvert that relationship and trying to reclaim science and technology from their functional and destructive purposes and to make something creative, beautiful, and rooted in humanistic values.
In the mid-80s, I had a boyfriend who used to spend a lot of time in video game arcades, which were mostly shoot-'em-ups. And I started to wonder about how these kind of new technologies might evolve and how they might affect humanity and society in the future. And so I started making a series of paintings, which were video game stills, exploring those kind of ideas. Sensing that those technologies could be used for something really negative by the wrong people, I was trying to embed my work with some other type of ethics, spirituality, other possible directions. I was very aware that there were different possible evolutions for technology depending on who was using it. And so I've always been really concerned about who's using it and for what, because the technology itself is not necessarily the active thing. For me, it's always about who uses the technology, and technology itself could be used for fantastic things.
My reasons for choosing to stop the period of the exhibition before the widespread adoption of the internet is because the internet is more of a social environment for technology. At least up until recently, the primary purpose for the internet was to share knowledge and connect people. And now with the new wave of experiments on artificial intelligence, it feels like it's less about talking to other people and it's returning to conversations between humans and machines and trying to grapple with what it means. What did that mean for creativity? Again, a very of today conversation. At the time, there was a lot of skepticism about so where does human creativity end and does the machine take over? And so from my perspective, it was quite interesting to kind of set aside everything that has to do with the internet, strip back that conversation and go back to art and automation. What does that do in terms of human creativity? What does that say about the human impulse to work with machines? A lot of the exhibition I conceived as a sort of origin story for generative art. The idea of setting yourself a set of rules to follow in order to generate a work whose outcome you don't know yet when you start the process is still a valid way of describing generative art today. And there is a lesson there in the way that artists can learn how to use artificial intelligence as a way of thinking about intelligence in general.
Artificial intelligence is a very, very powerful developing technology. It's going faster than we possibly imagined, and its possible futures are possibly also beyond our imagination. Whether we're going to reach the singularity and go past it, whether we will have a planet controlled by machine intelligence, we don't know those things. I've always been interested in the idea of trying to affect more positive futures. I think it's a really crucial moment for the right people to start using it for really positive outcomes, to help restore the planet, for medicine, for interesting conceptual art, healing, spirituality. We need to start focusing on how to use it in positive ways.
What I love about this kind of works is that precisely it captivates the viewer and it functions without them having any preconceived knowledge about what it is that they're looking. They're just interested in the visual effects. And then the analytical process begins of thinking about why and how what they see is like they see it.